Good evening. My name is Mary Trong. Welcome to VATV show tonight. Today is August 27, 2014, and VATV is the voice of Vietnamese American from the greater Boston area. VATV is sponsored by the Vietnamese American Initiative for Development, known as VATAID. You can follow our program live every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. on BNN TV network via cable Comcast Channel 9 and RCN Channel 15, and also online at www.bnntv.org. This evening will be rebroadcasted on the following schedule: Sunday at 5 p.m., Monday at 1 p.m., and Tuesday at 11 a.m. For today's program, we have the honor and pleasure to invite you to join in on the conversation with our current state representative of 13 Middlesex District and current candidate for state treasurer. Please welcome us to the conversation with Mr. Thomas Conroy.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming on our show.
Yes.
And for today's program, let me remind our audience that it is a live show, so please call in to give any question to our candidate by calling 617-708-3290. You can also contact us via email later, but I'm going to give you all that information. So now please tune in to Mr. Thomas Conroy. So may I call you Thomas or Mr. Conroy?
Tom is fine.
Okay, Tom.
Is
all
fine.
right.
It's easy.
Yes, so what an honor for us to have you on our show. So please tell the audience, and especially me, since I haven't heard of who Thomas Conroy is, and I also like to hear, why do you want to run as a state rep?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mary, so much for having me on the show, and thank you, viewers, for paying attention and listening to my candidacy for state treasurer. My name is Tom Conroy. I'm currently a state representative from Wayland. I also am privileged to represent the towns of Framingham and Marlborough and Sudbury. It's Metro West Boston, just outside of 128. I live there with my wife and my 4 daughters, 3 of whom are triplets, Mary.
Oh, wonderful.
They just graduated from Wayland High School, and a couple of them are already off to college, and one of them actually is here with us in the studio.
And you started at 16, right? Because you still look so young.
Oh, no, you're too kind. So I've been a state representative for 8 years.
I see, yes.
It's been a privilege to serve up at the State House. I've worked on financial matters, budget issues, economic growth issues. And prior to that, I worked in the private sector for 16 years, helping companies grow and create new jobs. I also worked in the finance sector.
Yes.
So I've got experience that's directly related to what the treasurer does on a day-to-day basis. And perhaps I should say, explain one part of my past experience that may be relevant to many of your viewers. I spent 5 years in Southeast Asia, helping Vietnamese and Cambodian and Lao refugees come to the United States of America. It was part of my expression, I guess, of compassion for people who were fleeing persecution in their home country, labor camps, re-education camps, didn't have opportunities in Vietnam. I worked with a team of people with the U.S. Embassy in Thailand and indeed in Hong Kong as well to help give people new opportunities, come to the United States, start a new life, have a better future for themselves and their children. And it's that compassion that I've expressed there that continues to guide me and my actions as a candidate for state treasurer. And it's the kind of, I guess, values that I want to bring to this office. So that we can both help people, but also make the smart financial choices. Yes,
so thank you on behalf of Vietnamese American for helping the Southeast Asian, including us, the Vietnamese American. So certainly because of one of your generosity in helping us, we're here today to be able to talk to you. Could you just tell me, what does the state treasurer do? Because there are a lot of newcomers who might not know the role of the state treasurer.
Right. So I'll explain 4 different pieces of what the treasurer does, and those are sort of the biggest roles that the treasurer has. Many viewers may know about the state lottery.
Yes.
The treasurer manages the state lottery. Many of your viewers who have children in the school system may know about the Massachusetts School Building Authority, which helps school districts in Boston and all throughout Massachusetts to rebuild, renovate, and create new school buildings. That's managed by the treasurer too.
I see.
Many of your viewers may be state employees, and they may have worked there for several years and may have accrued a bunch of money in a pension fund. And that pension fund for state employees is chaired and, in essence, managed by the state treasurer, so that people, after they serve 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 years for the state, they can retire in dignity. Right. And receive money from the state that was been set aside and invested for them. The last piece of what the treasurer does that I wanted to discuss is cash management, which is in essence, Mary, like having a checking account.
Right, right.
The Commonwealth has a checking account, and it's managed by the treasurer. And it needs to be that money, and it's billions of dollars, needs to be invested in a bank.
Yes.
And so what I'd like to do is invest more of those Massachusetts dollars in Massachusetts banks so that they can lend more to Massachusetts-based businesses, local businesses, minority-owned businesses, Vietnamese-owned businesses,
right.
women-owned businesses,
Yes.
veteran-owned businesses, so that those businesses can grow and hire new people into good Main Street middle-class jobs. That's how the treasurer, as I hope to be the next treasurer, can create job opportunities for people all throughout Massachusetts.
Yes, thank you for the definition of what the state treasurer does. It certainly is very important for many of us who don't know. But currently there's several candidates running for
Yes.
state treasurer's office, and so how are you different from the other candidate?
Well, it's a great question, and thank you for asking it, Mary. I'm different from the other candidates in terms of experience and expertise,
Yes.
specifically related to finance. I'm the only one who's worked in the finance industry.
Yes.
And of course, the finance is about money management, and that's
Right.
really what the treasurer does on a day-to-day basis. I'm the only one with a track record of achievement and results on issues that are directly related to what the treasurer does. So, for example, I've worked very closely as a state rep and as a local representative in Wayland for on a project related to the Mass School Building Authority that we've talked about.
Yes.
I've authored reports on the effect of casinos on the lottery that the treasurer manages. I've authored reports and authored legislation related to our pension funds.
I see.
I've authored legislation related to enhancing our credit rating so that the treasurer can go into the bond market and borrow at lower cost, just like taking out a mortgage at a lower interest rate.
Yeah.
I helped lower that interest
I
rate through
see.
legislation. So those are the big parts of my experience and expertise that neither one of the other candidates have a track record on or have that same level of depth and breadth of experience and expertise.
And you have an amazing credentials here too. You graduated from Yale,
Yes.
and then you had worked for 2 U.S. senators, Gary Hart and Barbara Mikulski,
Yes.
and then you also served as her foreign policy national security assistant. So
That's
I mean
correct.
that's impressive too. And then you had an MBA in finance from BU, from
Yes,
Boston
that's
University.
correct.
See,
Yes.
okay, and then. You also have a master's degree in international economics from Johns Hopkins in
That's
Washington,
correct.
D.C.
Yes.
See, that's a lot
other
of
expertise, I guess, in education that differentiates me from the others in the race.
I see.
Yes.
That's great. And then you also manage other, state. Wait a minute. Agencies manage their finances and guiding
Yes,
private firms to
I
develop.
helped state agencies around the country in places like Illinois and North Carolina and Tennessee and Massachusetts and Connecticut, et cetera, generate more revenue through smart financial management techniques, through smart use of computers and information technology. And that allowed state agencies to hire more workers, to protect more people, to serve the mentally ill, to hire more teachers, et cetera. And it allowed government to do more than it previously was. So it was, again, smart use of financial techniques, and that's what I bring as the next treasurer, also something that neither one of my opponents have in terms of experience.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So thank you. And then, so Massachusetts is so diverse, and
It is.
especially certain part of
Yes.
Massachusetts, like Boston,
Boston.
how diverse it is.
Melting
right?
pot.
Exactly.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
So, what is your view in terms of diversity? If you can,
It's
talk more.
it's a principle and a value and a goal that I take very seriously. I believe that every organization that I want to lead and work with should have diversity of staff, diversity of perspectives, diversity of opinion. Mary, I've lived in countries in several parts of the world. As mentioned, Southeast Asia. I worked in Haiti helping refugees there.
Yeah.
I've lived in a bunch of different places. And I've been a minority.
Yes.
And I've recognized that other people have different perspectives and different cultures and different thoughts and different ideas and different experiences that they can bring to strengthen an organization. And it's that kind of diversity that I want in my office as state treasurer, because it will make our organization stronger. It will make me stronger as a treasurer and better. It will make our organization more efficient and more effective and more professional. And I think it will allow us to reach out to communities all throughout this Commonwealth and see how we can help create educational and job opportunities for people from every different ethnicity, every different minority group, every community of color. And I think that's really important, and that's the kind of treasurer I want to be.
That's wonderful. So, talking about your campaign, how is it going?
It's going really well. In fact, we just picked up another newspaper endorsement today, Mary, from New Bedford, the New Bedford Standard Times. I think we've been endorsed now by 3 or 4 different newspapers, and we're hopeful that we get some more of those. They're recognizing in me that I am the most qualified candidate in this race. I've got the background and the experience and the track record of results directly related to what the treasurer needs to do every single day. I'm ready to start this job on day one. And people more and more are recognizing that. As we get closer and closer to the election, people are really doing the compare and contrast between me. And I think the more they do that, the more likely we are to win. We're going to go up on TV with an advertisement that I think will be very effective next week. We are getting our message out. I am traveling all around the state, and our message is working with people. They're recognizing that it's, when you can use the authority that the treasurer has to open up universal pre-K education for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. When you can, as I want to do, tackle the student debt problem and lower the cost of college for students, when you can help these small businesses grow by getting access to money from banks, these are all things that people want in Massachusetts. And so that message is working, and people are recognizing, hey, this guy Tom Conroy, he sounds pretty good. And so we're cautiously optimistic that I'm going to win, and I think we're going to peak at the right time. September 9th is voting day, to remind reviewers. So Tom Conroy for state treasurer. Don't forget me on September 9th.
That'd be great. But so what are your top priorities? I heard education is one.
Yes.
And did you mention job creation?
Yes, job creation. Well, we talked about the small bank lending program, to help create jobs. I'd also like to rebuild our infrastructure faster than what we are doing right now. You can imagine that, well, you know about our public transportation system. Your viewers in Boston certainly know. The Green Line is ancient. It needs to be brought into the 21st century. Our water infrastructure is very old. Boston and Massachusetts is one of the oldest states in the United States country. Some of our water infrastructure is 80, 100 years old. I want to fix that and put people back to work doing it. The school building authority, obviously, whenever we renovate and rebuild a school, we're putting people back to work. I want to, as treasurer, figure out ways where we can bring in some of this revenue that I, pursuant to the expertise that I expressed. There's some other revenue generation ideas that I have that I think make sense and will actually help the business community and help create job growth and put people back to work, fixing Massachusetts and bringing us into the 21st century.
Yes, which is very important. But so what help do you need from the viewers besides just the votes?
Well, we need people. We need volunteers to work at the precinct, at the voting places, at the so that they can hold signs, Tom Conroy for state treasurer, so that they can go door to door and make some phone calls to people who may not have access to a car or a way to get to the voting booth and need some help in that regard, or be reminded that today's voting day. We need a whole bunch of volunteers to help in that regard. And if some of the viewers are willing to help, my website is tomconroy.org, and so that's TOMCONROY.org, and check out the website, and you can sign up as a volunteer right there. So that would be great help, Mary, from the community.
Sure. What's the key neighborhood or area, throughout the state that you think that you should concentrate on in terms of getting out people to vote or get the vote from them?
Well, we look at a lot of, I think a lot of the voters on September 9th are going to come from cities, cities like Boston, cities like New Bedford,
Right.
where I just was today,
Yeah,
and where
yeah.
we got that endorsement.
Right.
Cities like Lawrence and Lowell and Worcester and Holyoke and Springfield and Pittsfield and other cities throughout Massachusetts. That's where the population is, and that's where a lot of Democrats live, and I'm running as a Democrat, and this is a Democratic primary. So we have state representative colleagues of mine, my folks that I work with every day who know me, who have seen me perform, who have seen me achieve some of these results, and be a real leader up at the State House. Many of them, over 50 of them, have endorsed me in this race, and they live all throughout Massachusetts. So in areas where they live, and they can talk to their supporters and their constituents and say, hey, this guy Tom Conroy is worth your vote on September 9th. I think those are the places where we're going to do well. But that's a lot of key areas throughout the state.
Yes, I can see that. So let's talk about the personal connection here. So your family, you have a triplet.
We have triplets, yes.
And so you want to be a role model to them. So
yes, I do.
So if they were to ask you that, what can you do for me? What's the most important thing you would teach them or tell them?
For them?
For them. First of all, I forgot how old they are.
They are 17 right now, the triplets are.
Yes.
So they're actually going off to college. So what could I do to help? I want to tackle the student debt problem and the cost of college education.
Yeah.
What values and personal characteristics would I want to teach them, if that's your question? I think my wife and I have done an okay job in that regard. I see in the girls values that I do care about. They all work very hard. They all have a sense of honesty and integrity and how important that is. A trustworthiness, friendship and compassion for others, an ability to empathize with others and put yourself in others' shoes. And those are some of the values that we've tried to imbue upon them and inculcate in them. And so that's what, thankfully, that's what we're seeing out of them. They're great kids. They're very smart. They're very attractive. They take after their mom.
And you, of course, the mom and dad.
So it's been a pleasure raising them over the course of the past 17 years, and I know they're going to do very well in college.
Yes, and sound like it because they have very talented parents.
Well, thank you.
So we have maybe another 5-10 minutes. So
sure.
What's your final message to the voter? You can repeat again because I'm sure
Sure.
they want to hear.
Well,
it
I think the voters want someone, as I've traveled around the state, Mary, they want someone who shares their values. We just talked about some of them. Values around honesty and integrity. They want somebody smart. They want somebody who has a sense of compassion for the disadvantaged and people who are facing challenges through no fault of their own. People who are working hard and playing by the rules every single day. People who believe in economic fairness and economic justice and want to address this issue of income inequality so that people can move up and move ahead and move ahead in life and really help the economy grow. Those are the values that have guided me, Mary, over the course of the past 25 years of my professional career, and particularly as a state representative, and they will continue to guide me as state treasurer. And I think the second thing that voters seem to want from their next treasurer is someone with the experience and the expertise to do the job of state treasurer on day one. They do not want somebody who's responsible for managing a $60 billion pension fund and a $5 billion business that happens to be called the Massachusetts State Lottery and a $1 billion school building program, who doesn't really have experience and expertise to do the job. They want somebody who really knows how to do this.
That's right.
On-the-job training, not a good idea. There's too much money at stake.
Right, that's right.
So they want someone who really knows the different transactions and the mechanics and the finance and the decisions that the treasurer needs to make. And they want somebody who's gotten results for them, helped working families. I happen to be the person as the chairman of the labor committee up at the State House
Yeah.
who has led the charge on increasing the minimum wage. The governor just signed that 2 months ago. That new law is going to be the highest state-based minimum wage in the entire country, right here in Massachusetts.
Wonderful.
It's going to help 600,000 working families throughout Massachusetts earn a better income,
Right, right.
potentially move up and out of poverty and into hopefully the middle class. And it's that kind of results. And the laws that I mentioned earlier that I authored that people really want, somebody who can get stuff done, Mary. And I've demonstrated that I can get things done. And so between those three things, the values, the expertise, and the results, that's what folks want in their next treasurer, and that's what I'm able to deliver. That's what sets me apart in this race from the other folks who are running. I have great respect for them, but when it comes to the treasurer's office, I think I stand apart. And that I think is going to help me win on September 9th.
And I think so too. So
Thank
you
you.
definitely have my vote. So where's your campaign headquarters?
We have a headquarters just near Newton and Chestnut Hill, and you know, we've got a great campaign team. They've, like I said, we were just talking about the advertisement that is going to be running in Massachusetts here next week, and we've got a great field operation, grassroots operation. I talked about the 50-plus state reps that are endorsing me.
Right.
We've got supporters and volunteers all throughout the state. People are really excited about this campaign. And again, as I said, as more and more people pay attention to this race, and more people understand just how important the treasurer's role is, managing all this money and all these big operations, and more and more people are going to be saying that Tom Conroy is the guy for the role. The way that most voters perhaps might, after watching this show, Mary, remember me and associate with me in this office is, folks, just remember, it's Tom, I have triplets, and I'm running for treasurer. So it may be a good way for folks to remember who to vote for on September 9th at the ballot box. Tom, triplets, treasurer, should be easy to remember.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I think we have another 3 minutes.
3 minutes? Okay.
Yeah. So let's
Tell me
talk
about the Vietnamese community here in the Boston area and some of the challenges or priorities they would want me to focus on as the next treasurer. Is it fair for me to ask you that question?
Yes, of course. And my personal point of view is all of the point that you made. The important for us to have jobs.
Yes.
To have easy access to education.
Yes.
To get the scholarship that help.
Yes.
So certainly safety, because the largest Boston Vietnamese American community resides in Dorchester.
Yes.
So, so certainly safety is the issue that you heard recently on the news, shooting, and not that Dorchester is bad. I mean, certainly the housing value has gone up.
Yes, it has.
So it's just a few incidences here and there.
Right.
That doesn't really make Dorchester look so bad per se.
Right.
So, but safety is still one of the concern, for many of us, not just the Vietnamese. So I would say,
and that's a very important issue. You need to have a safe neighborhood in order to have a thriving and growing neighborhood.
Yes.
And you need to have, that will help foster a good educational environment with good schools and parents and children that can go to those schools and create new opportunities for all those kids. I worked very hard over the course of the past 2 years on the gun reform legislation.
I see.
And I, with a colleague of mine, inserted a piece of legislation into that bill that got signed into law that is trying to stop gun trafficking. And by that I mean guns that are being sold sort of at 2 o'clock at night on a Saturday, pistols and firearms to people in a variety of different arenas here in Boston and in Dorchester and other places. And we're trying to reduce the amount of guns that can be sold that way illegally, and track them and keep track of who's buying those guns, who's selling those guns. And that's a new part of the law that we just signed that I helped author that I think is very important. And if we can get these guns off the streets, we can have safer neighborhoods, we can have better schools, we can have a better retail environment and better economic growth and more job opportunities for people.
Yes.
So I've tried to address that issue as well through the work that I've done as a state representative.
That's great. Yeah. So thank you. So one last question is: do you think you have any challenges ahead of you as you campaign?
As I campaign, well, again, it's getting the message out. We're trying to reach 900,000 voters all across Massachusetts. We're obviously trying to do that through television, and that the opportunity that you're creating for me here today is wonderful. Thank you very much for it.
Our pleasure.
We were on radio earlier today.
Right.
I talked about the newspapers. We've been talking to a lot of newspapers, so we're trying to get the message out. That's the biggest challenge I think all of us as candidates have.
Right.
Not a lot of people have been paying close attention to the treasurer's race, but I hope I've shared with some of your viewers tonight that it's a very important position.
Yes.
It can help people improve their lives by opening up educational and job opportunities for people, and really address this issue of economic fairness and opportunity creation. And if folks can pay attention on September 9th and vote, that would be a wonderful thing. But that's the real challenge, getting people more engaged in the political process.
Yes.
It's our government. We're citizens, right? It's our government. We have to play a role in it. We have to use our voices and use our ability to vote in order to shape that government to look like what we want it to look like.
Yes, yes, I totally agree. So thank you very much
Thank you,
for coming
Mary.
on our show, and we hope to see you again soon.
I hope so. If I win next month, then we'll certainly be back in September or in October. It'd be my pleasure to come back on the show, Mary.
Okay, thank you very much once again.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Good luck.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So you can always contact us at VATV through email, vatv@vda.org, or you can call us at 617-822-3717. Thank you and have a good evening. Stay tuned for the next show.